I do love the fumes.
Alyssa? I don't know what mic you want me to do something to here. Sure. Is it, are they all on? Okay.
This is to the speakers.
Okay. Is it turned on? Is it still on? Well, thank you today to the Iowa Motor Trucking Association and Scott Semanek, the president there. I'm Brenna Bird, your Attorney General, and I am grateful every day that I get to serve and protect our rights and freedoms here in Iowa. And when those freedoms get stepped on, it's my job as Attorney General to step in. Today, I'm announcing that Iowa is suing to stop California's Green Fleet fantasy. We are suing along with 17 other states, along with Nebraska, who is leading this effort. California's latest mandate will drive trucking companies into the ground. This mandate forces trucking companies with over 50 trucks to make their entire fleet electric by 2042. If even just one of their trucks drives through California. Electric trucks are a lot more expensive than the diesel trucks, and they barely exist, mostly as prototypes. Who here has seen an electric semi-truck? Not many Iowans have. Biden and California's radical green dream is unrealistic, and it's out of touch, a fantasy. These electric trucks take longer to charge, drive shorter distances, and will be few and far between because trucking companies can't afford them. It's our supply chain's worst nightmare, because if you got it, a truck brought it. To charge one of these trucks, it would take at least 10 hours compared to a quick stop at a diesel pump. If we've learned anything from California's rolling blackouts, it's that our power grid can't support this kind of mandate. Crippling costs will force trucking companies to close shop and kill Iowa jobs. Rural America will be left in the dust because it hurts farmers. Farmers have to have a way to get the goods to market. It makes everything more expensive for families because it will increase the costs. But here's the good news. California does not have the power to dictate its green fleet fantasy on the rest of us. They don't have the power to tell other states what to do. Unlike California, Iowa knows that without truckers, America would grind to a halt. Trucking here in Iowa employs about 100,000 Iowans, and about 1 in 13 of our jobs are trucking related. We stand at the crossroads. While Biden and California threaten to wipe out the American trucking industry, Iowa, we are pushing back. This lawsuit sends a loud and clear message that in Iowa, we support our truckers. We won't take a back seat as California tries to ban affordable, reliable trucks and regulate truckers out of existence. Today, I'm taking California to court because they don't get to tell Iowa truckers what to do and what to drive. It's against the law, and we will hold California accountable. I'm joined here today by two Iowa trucking companies. Scott Semanek is here with me. He's the president and CFO of Stutzman's. He's also the Iowa Motor Trucker chairman, and Stutzman is based in Hills, Iowa. I'm also joined by Dale Decker, who's the CEO of Decker Transportation, another family trucking business right here in Iowa. Scott?
Again, my name is Scott Semanek, and I am the chairman of the Iowa Motor Truck Association. And on behalf of the over 400 members of the Iowa Motor Truck Association, we support and applaud Attorney General Bird for her efforts to address the deluge of unrealistic trucking rules and regulations coming from the California Air Resources Board, commonly known as CARB. CARB seeks to divide our industry, our voice, and our ability to fight back. To be clear, the trucking industry is not opposed to battery electric vehicles. Many fleets are testing them, and the initial results are mixed at best. What is abundantly clear from early adopters of this technology is that the hurdles for widespread adoption are massive and undeniable. The targets and timelines mandated by the EPA and CARB are not possible. Additionally, trucking has made tremendous strides in reducing our environmental impact. Over the past 40 years, the trucking industry has cut nitrogen oxides and particulate matter pollution by 99%. Today's clean burn diesel trucks have reduced carbon emissions by 50% compared to pre-2010 models. The trucking industry has consistently stepped up and demonstrated its commitment to the environment. We know how important this effort is. However, smart, pragmatic, and technology-neutral policies will allow for a range of low-carbon fuel sources that are necessary bridge to carry us to a zero-emission future. But the EPA and CARB's dogmatic hyperfixation on battery electric vehicles as the only technology solution is simply bad environmental and economic policy. The trucking industry is opposed to the one-size-fits-all mandates that imposes singular technologies onto an extremely varied industry like trucking, while ruling out alternative fuel sources that offer greater environmental, operational, and financial benefits. Battery electric vehicles are a viable option for some trucking operations, such as urban delivery and even school buses. But you cannot move the entire U.S. economy on a battery electric vehicle alone. It is simply unrealistic. We believe that the market, not mandates, should drive innovation toward our shared goal of furthering reducing emissions. We need to recognize how much cleaner today's clean diesel trucks are and look for ways to accelerate their deployment by eliminating the federal excise tax on new trucks, while also continuing to look at renewable diesel fuel, which studies show has a lower carbon footprint over its life cycle compared to battery-operated trucks, which will grow jobs and industry right here in Iowa. Every day, every single person in this country is impacted by the trucking industry, and we must invest in common sense solutions to reduce our carbon footprint.
Thank you, Scott. I think we'll open it up for questions now.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Proposition 12 that California voters can do whatever they wish in regards to animal welfare. Why is this different?
Well, I am very disappointed in the Supreme Court's decision against pork producers in their Prop 12 case. However, we have continued to defend our pork farmers here in Iowa and will continue to do so in the courts. We have strong arguments. The arguments that we have here are strong as well. California does not have the power to tell another state what to do, particularly when it comes to trucking. What California is doing is extreme. They say that if a trucking company has 50 trucks total, even an Iowa trucking company, and one of those trucks happens to go to California, that all of that fleet must be electric by their deadline that's imposed. And so that is extreme. We believe that our arguments are within the precedent of the Supreme Court and the other courts. We have a strong argument to take to court on behalf of Iowa truckers.
So are you using something different from the Interstate Commerce Clause?
We will be using all available legal arguments. So we are arguing preemption under the Clean Air Act. We will be arguing the Interstate Commerce Clause as well, and there are cases directly on point that relate to trucking, protecting states from another state, telling them how they have to run their own trucking industry to go through their state.
Does your other guest want to
I think that's Dale Decker from Decker Transportation, another family trucking company, right here in Iowa, right in Fort Dodge.
And maybe this is more for the trucking industry. Are there consequences kind of down the supply stream for consumers if these costs are incurred? And the argument is not a lot of infrastructure here. Is that going to increase consumers if these regulations come through?
Okay, I tried to hear your question as best I could, so if I didn't get it, you just let me know, okay? There are devastating consequences to our supply chain because here in Iowa, we depend on getting our goods to market. Iowa farmers feed the world, whether it's pork, beef, corn, beans, ethanol, biodiesel, and we rely on trucking in order to get those goods to market. So it's very important to Iowa agriculture. It's also important to all Iowa families because everything we get typically comes here on a truck, and if those trucking costs are increased, it will make prices that people pay at the grocery store and for other things that they need much, much higher. And this causes severe interruptions to the supply chain as well.
General Bird, your trip to New York City yesterday, your office had commented that was not paid for using taxpayer dollars. Was that a trip you paid for your own way, or was there outside funding that funded that?
I'll take all the trucking questions first, and then we can switch to other subject matter afterwards. Any other trucking questions?
Could one of the presidents address, since you're talking about almost 2 decades away, can you explain to people why you don't see the industry evolving far enough, fast enough to meet these requirements? I know
Sure.
you're dying to talk, but
Yeah.
really just either one of you, if you don't mind.
Well, a couple of things. One is that
I'm not one of them, though. Sorry to be rude, but can
sorry.
I get one of them?
Oh,
You
one of
mind
them? Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
Did you hear the question? Have them repeat it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat that, please.
Sure. When you're talking about, I think it's 2042 when it's got to be fully implemented. That's a good, 18 years away. Is it not realistic to think that the industry and the infrastructure and all that stuff can evolve fast enough and widespread enough to meet that, or is it just frankly that it's a mandate that you don't agree with?
We haven't seen the development to date as we've gone through this journey. But I will refer you to the IMTA office for more statistics as to how long that will take. I think that'd be probably the best spot to go for that. But yeah, we just haven't seen the development in infrastructure to support the number of trucks that are going to be proposed to be battery operated.
Scott was speaking to the infrastructure not being there. There's a study put out about a few months ago that said just to get the electric grid up to par, to be able to provide enough power for the trucking industry, we're talking about over $1 trillion investment, and that doesn't include the cost of the actual trucks itself. So I think that's a long ways away from getting there. We'd like to have the electric stuff. We're looking at electric yard trucks ourselves, but it just does not seem like a practical application to mandate across the board of electric trucks nationwide and in full. It's just not possible. The cost, and like Brenda alluded to, the charge times, the distance, weather factors, cold, hot, changes the distance on the way the truck can go. Capabilities of that truck, sure, we all like to get there, but pushing it down our throat like this is just not a way to go, what we feel.
What is a yard truck?
A yard truck would be more of like a hostler truck that just moves trailers around a customer's yard or just around the yard, not an over-the-road down the highway truck. Those, they park, if it's in the right application, they park overnight. They can work possibly like that, but over-the-road wise, boy, it's expensive to electrify this entire nation for what it would take to power trucks.
One last question.
Yeah. Circling back to the trip to New York yesterday, are you able to share where the funding for that came from? Was that something out of your own pocket? Was there outside funding that funded that? And then in addition to that, was that by invitation of President Trump, or was that a...
So no taxpayer funds were used, and I went to New York to show my support for President Trump and to witness what was going on there in that courtroom in Manhattan. Thank you.
Specifically where that funding came from?
Thank you all.